What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Your Lake Fork Guide. And I think the entire world is wondering right now, why is Texas producing so many giant bass? I found the guy that knows how to answer that question. Guys, today I'm down at the Freshwater Fishery Center in Athens, Texas, home of the Sharelunker program, for one of the guys that helps operate the Sharelunker program, Mr. Kyle Brookshire. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thanks for having me.
We got the man here today. Now, we've done interviews with Kyle before about the program, but now we're in full swing.
Yep.
And it's been a little bit of a year.
It has. It's been a lot of it of a year. One of the best seasons we've had since '95.
Yeah.
As far as collecting Sharelunkers for our selective breeding program. So it's been phenomenal.
We have now had 23 entries into the Sharelunker program. In fact, you've got so many entries, you only have one tank left.
That's right. We have one tank left with 3 days left in the season.
Yeah. So if anybody catches more, like if there's 2 more caught, one of them's not coming in.
That's right.
We only got room for 1 more.
We'll certify the weight. We'll take a DNA sample. We'll give all the prizes associated that an angler would get with actually physically collecting their fish, and we'll turn that fish back on site. And
guys, today me and Kyle are definitely going to discuss in depth all the different reasons that Texas is producing so many, like it's the mega bass capital of the world right now. We're going to talk about all the different reasons about that. Before we get started, I do want to talk a little bit about how you can participate in the Sharelunker program. For the legacy class, that's the 13 pounders. That's what we're talking about. That's what are donated. The donations for those are accepted between January 1st and March 31st every year. But if you catch one outside of that window, or when we just have too many coming in, right? If somebody catches one that we can't accept into the program because we're out of tanks, you can still get all the love. You still get the 13-pound legacy class Sharelunker qualification. All you have to do is download the Sharelunker app, and you can also, there's a number on there that you can call Kyle personally at, right? Is it you?
Right. Yep.
Right. You're the guy that picks up the phone when I call. So. Yeah, so you can contact Sharelunker directly through that number when you do catch a 13-pounder. They'll help you get it certified. They'll help you get scale samples, right?
DNA samples, yeah.
Yeah, they'll help you get the DNA samples. That way, it's going to help the program. Because what this program is all about is studying and understanding growth rates, genetics, everything that these guys that are way smarter than me, they need to know all these things to help provide the best fisheries that we can get in the state, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. You know, that expanded piece of the program.
You're going to say it better than I say it.
No, you did great. That expanded piece of the program where an angler provides custom genetic data on fish that are less than 13 pounds is another vital piece because it allows us to track and understand the stocking impacts that have been had on that particular reservoir. So if you catch a fish that's 9 or 10 pounds on Lake Fork and send a DNA sample in, there's a chance that fish is an offspring of a fish that we stocked from our selective breeding sportsman program. So we're able to track that and determine, again, that impact that we've had.
So anytime you catch a fish, and that's what I was going to say, not only the 13-pounders out of donation season, but also everything, was it 8 pounds and up?
8 and up.
8 and up. You guys are trying to collect that on everything 8 pounds and up. So when you catch a fish over 8 pounds, download the Sharelunker app. It'll give you all the information on how to get the fish entered into the program. And there's different classes. There's the Lunker class, which is like 8 to 10. There's the Elite, which is like 10 to 13. And there's Legacy, which is 13 and above. But you can enter fish in all those programs, and these guys want the information, A, on those catches, and B, they want the DNA and genetic information that the app and these guys can help you obtain.
Correct. And again, you know, obviously we can run the DNA on those fish, but just providing that catch data alone, documenting the size of that fish, length and weight, that information gets given to our management biologists to pair with the information they collect year-round. So it gives them another additional piece of data point, so when they're managing that reservoir for bass, largemouth bass specifically,
right,
it helps them better understand how is the lunker population doing, how are those trophy-sized fish doing in that.
Where do we need to stock? Where do we need to help? What ways we can help? Right?
Yep, exactly.
It's all good information. You guys are great. You guys are all basically, you're scientists. You're scientists of bass fishing, but you're scientists, and data collection is paramount for y'all. That's the most important thing. All right, so that's kind of the Sharelunker program. That's what it is. It's about growing bigger, better bass in Texas throughout the state. And boy, have y'all done it. So 23 fish turned into the program over 13 pounds.
That's right, yeah, 23.
And you've already turned down 2 from Ivy.
Correct.
Now, are we counting those two in the 23?
Yep, that's in the 23.
Okay, so we got 21 in the house.
We have DNA samples, certified weights, 23rd measurements on those fish. The only thing that's different is they weren't transported back.
Right, they're just not here. They're just not here. So 21 in the house, and you guys are seeing some shots of the Lunker Bunker. Kyle was kind enough to give me an after-hours tour of the Lunker Bunker today. I appreciate you staying and doing this with us. Yeah. And we've got some other stuff we're going to show you guys standing right behind us. Really cool stuff back here. We're going to talk about it in a minute, but man, it's like this year the floodgates open, and there's a lot of factors that go into this, and you know, and I would love to get your feedback on some of this because you look at it from us. I look at it from a dude on the water's perspective. Yeah. Just trying to think simple and logical because I'm not a real complex thinker. I'm like, see bass, catch bass. You know what I mean? Like sight fishing is my favorite. So I'm not a real deep thinker when it comes to all this scientific stuff. So I want your perspective on it. But it's like, to me, it seems an awful lot like we just have an abundance of fish in the state that are reaching that size. And one of the factors is that we were in a drought from like 2011 to 2014, basically statewide drought. And then in 14, we had a bunch of lakes that had been low for a few years fill back up. In 14, 15, 16, they stayed full in 15 and 16. And we had several good years of spawning right there in those 3-year windows. Well, now those 2014 fry are 7 years old. Yeah. You know, they're getting to that age where they can get really big. Yeah. They're starting to reach, with the help of selected genetics, they're starting to get to that age where they can get super big. What, is that, I mean, that's got to be a factor in this, right, this year?
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, there's a handful of things you have to really produce these trophy-sized bass, and you got to have the good genetics. Yeah. Which is what the Parks and Wildlife has been doing since we started stocking Florida bass genes into the public water rights of Texas. And Sharelunker was the next step in that. Yeah. And we can talk more about it later, but Sharelunker is actually taking a further step and recreating all of our statewide brood stock.
That's what's right here. We're going to explain that here in a little bit. That's what we're standing, right? It's awesome.
But you got to have good genetics. You got to have good management and regulations and habitat. And then sometimes you get a little bit of boost from Mother Nature, especially in a public water body or these really large reservoirs. You know, if you go through severe drought like that. OHI is a great example. Obviously, we've intensely managed that reservoir and intensely stocked Sharelunker offspring and Florida bass genes into that reservoir.
Because it has a history of being able to take care of those fish and grow them.
Correct. In 2010, 2011 was another banner year for OHI. Right. They produced 12, 6 in those 2 years, and so it's kind of on track to do the same thing this year and possibly next year. Yeah. And that's been about 10 to 12 years since that happened. And obviously, when you heavily stock those trophy genetics in that lake, heavily manage that reservoir, and then you get a little bit of boost of extra water from Mother Nature, like we did in 2018.
New lake syndrome.
You get a new lake syndrome, exactly. So not only did you have the right genes, but when that reservoir fills up and you have that it inundates with water, and you get that new lake effect, you get that really rich, fertile reservoir.
Just puts more nutrients in the water body.
Correct. Everything blooms, right? Like your plankton blooms, your forage fish bloom, your bass bloom, because they have an abundance of resources that they're not hindered by other competitions of forage, and so they're able to reach extreme growth rates. But again, without the right genetics, they'll level out eventually. Like northern bass is not going to reach that trophy size of 13 pounds. So you got to have that in there.
And then to me, kind of the next factor, and it's kind of the hot topic in all of bass fishing right now that might be affecting some of this. I mean, the fish from this is the day after the 15 was caught on Lake Fort, by the way. Yeah, she's in there right now. She's doing good. Yep. Doing great so far. So this is the day after that. Now that fish yesterday had nothing to do with forward-facing sonars, live scope, active target. That fish was caught off a bed, had nothing to do with it. We were using this forward-facing sonar, right?
Yeah. So,
the waterland forward-facing sonar, right? So, but anyways, a lot of the ivy fish that were turned in early in the year, and some of the other fish that were turned in early in the year, were attributed to being caught using the forward-facing sonar. Now, it's been a little bit of a phenomenon. Now, this live scope deal's been around for a few years now, but it hasn't really been accepted by bass fishermen until, really, to me, like the last 6 months, maybe a year, but really ever since Patrick Walters did it on the big stage at Lake Fort, at the Texas Fest, and he dominated the tournament so handily with using the live scope. To me, that seems like when everybody's like, okay, I've got to learn how to do this. Yeah. And so now you have guys that are really good at fishing, that fish a whole bunch, that are fully adopting this technology and are beginning to become skilled at it, because that technology is not as simple as you just turn it on, you see them and you throw at them. Like, There's a lot of skill to keeping the fish on the screen. There's a lot of skill to keeping your bait on the screen, really.
And line with the fish.
Yes, and now trying to line both those up. There's some stuff to it. So I think a little bit of what we're seeing is there's guys that are catching fish that we weren't going to catch before out in the open. Well, I know Josh Jones is catching every fish he catches using live scope, and he's donated 2 this year, right?
Correct. Yep.
So we know at least 2. We know Milliken's, the 16 that Joe caught with Ben Milliken. That was a live scope fish. We saw the video of that one. So we know that a lot of these fish are getting caught by this technology, and these are fish that, in all reality, we might not even thrown a bait at in years past.
Correct.
So now that there's more skilled anglers using this really innovative technology, it's almost like, man, that's attributing to some of the numbers of big fish that we are seeing get caught. They've always kind of been there, but now they're getting caught.
Yeah, I mean, technology is definitely advanced, and with forward-facing sonar, anglers, we are better able to target those fish, especially in Ivy. You know, the conditions that are there right now, that really plays into the hand of an angler being able to target a fish, especially early in the season. You know, late winter, pre-spawn, early pre-spawn really, where these fish are starting to heavily feed and transition in those areas. You know, that's really helped, you know, anglers better target these trophy-sized bass. But, you know, live scope, it helps us target them, so they got to be there to be able to catch them.
They got to be there.
That's another factor. We're seeing, you know, some of these larger fish that might not have been, like you said, able to be caught previously, now being able to be better, you know, targeted by an angler.
But who knows how long some of those fish have been there?
Yeah.
Who knows how long we've had this type of fishing available to us, and now forward-facing sonar is just bringing some of it into our light now. But the reality is the Sharelunker program has been going since the 80s. You guys have got it dialed in at this point. You've had a very successful recruitment and stocking program. You've had a very successful survival rate on your fish. The vast majority of the fish that come into y'all's carry get released back out into the water. I mean, they're really, bottom line is a fish that's in the teens is an old fish. Some of them are not going to survive getting caught, let alone whatever else. Like a lot of times the fish that die, once they get turned in, we're going to die anyway. Just my personal opinion, but you guys have done a great job of stocking these fish. I mean, y'all kind of had it dialed in for the last, you know, really good for the last 10 or 15 years at least. So I mean, we've been stocking a lot of big bass genetics and a lot of lakes. So now that we're just kind of seeing the fruition of the program, and at the end of the day, when we're trying to ask the question is, why is Texas kicking out so many giant bass? Well, I know why. It's because Texas is the only state with this program.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Texas is on the cutting edge of really the future of fisheries management. I mean, we've acquired, you know, Toyota's been very generous to us and helped us acquire some advanced genetic technology that we would not have otherwise been able to get our hands on, and that's helped us further, you know, advance and specialize in our genetic analysis part of the program, which really helps us identify not just, you know, percent Florida influence, you know, maybe how much of that is northern, but it allows us to really identify parents, grandparents, sibling pairs, lineage. Yeah, we're really family tree, and that's one thing. You know, there's a new Sharelunker website that came out a few years ago when we launched the expanded part of the program, and what we're trying to do is get really a family tree of these bass on that website, so you can go in, find your fish if it's related, and you go all the way down the line. That would be. We actually have one fish, Nacogdoches fish from last year, I believe, the 15 that Joe caught. That one goes back to like one of the first Sharelunkers ever in the program. There's like 5 or 6 generations of it. Yeah, we've been able to dig into and flesh out. Yeah, it's incredible. So
that is incredible.
Yeah. I think it goes back to like Sharelunker number 9, I want to say.
What?
So I've got it. Yeah.
Which was probably from Lake Fork, because like they were all from Lake Fork.
Mother Fork, as they say. Yeah.
In the beginning, like almost all of them were from Fork there for a while. So
we got some really good information coming out. You know, just as far as those findings, and we're trying to pump that out as quick as we can. You know. When you're on the road picking up bunkers all the time, it kind of eats up that.
You guys have been working real hard, and you've got a new baby on the way. Congratulations
that's right.
to
Thank
that.
you very much. So,
I know we had to hurry up and get this video done because you said, man, I might not be here next week.
Yeah, I might not be here tomorrow.
That's right. So just in time. It's not just the genetics, it's not just the stockings, it's not just, you guys are doing more. We're standing right here, and this is one of the coolest things that I've heard of my whole knowledge of the program, the history of the program. What you guys are transitioning to in these tanks right here might be my favorite thing I've heard. Now, right now, what's in here and the fish that you guys are seeing shots of right now, this is your brood stock. So these are Florida strain, these pure Florida strain bass. You've got males and females separated right now. You're starting to get their little spawning condos lined up.
Yep.
We're going to put some mats in there here. We'll put some cover in there for them. They'll be all good to go. And then we're going to go ahead and let the females and males mix and they'll pair up and spawn. So you guys have brood stock, select brood stock. It's pure Florida strain bass. And you breed these, and then the fingerlings from those you use for general stockings throughout the state.
Correct. Yeah.
Now, tell us what we're fixing to do.
Yeah, so the next step in that, so Sharelunker has been around since the 80s. For over 30 years, we've been collecting and selectively breeding these trophy class fish for their genetic predisposition to reach that trophy size. Yeah. So the closer we can tie to that genetic strain that has that, then the more theoretically should be able to produce. And so since we've been doing that, every year we stock several 100,000 offspring from Sharelunkers, which is awesome. Well, our brood stock produces 4 to 6 million of those, of their offspring every year. So we have selectively bred trophy class genetics. We have genetic potential in our brooders because they're 100%
because they're Florida. But you don't know.
Correct.
With these, we know.
Not all of these necessarily can reach that size in the wild. We have proven
with the
these
ones
fish
in that
have proven to reach that trophy size in the wild. So what we're doing at that next phase of Sharelunker, that long-term goal, is to take offspring, direct offspring from those Sharelunkers and recreate our entire brood stock with direct offspring from Sharelunkers.
So you guys are replacing these pure Florida strain bass that are in these tanks behind us that you guys have seen shots of swimming around in these cool tanks. These fish are leaving, not today, but they're over time. These fish are going away, and the fish that are going to replace them are going to be direct Sharelunker offspring, and then we're going to be able to produce millions of second generation Sharelunker offspring every year. We'll have
every year 4 to 6 million instead of 2 to 300,000.
Still have our hundreds of thousands of direct Sharelunker offspring first year, but then we'll have 4 to 6 million second generation Sharelunker offspring right here in these blue tanks.
Correct, exactly. And so that gets you that really close tie to that genetic. So we should be able to see a large boom in trophy bass population.
That is extremely exciting. So you guys are working to where every fish you stock is going to be Sharelunker.
Correct, and no one else in the country is doing that.
No
other agencies doing that.
No.
And I get to stand here and have these awesome conversations and talk about stockings, but stockings are paired perfectly with management, and we have some of the best management biologists in the country.
Absolutely.
Who are out there intensely managing each reservoir, like Lake Fork, like Lake Ivy, all those reservoirs across the state, public water bodies that we get to enjoy. They're out there constantly,
Here's what I really like about you guys' program and you guys' staff, from the biology side to the Sharelunker side and all in between. Jake Norman loves to fish. He's our biologist at Fork in this area. He loves to bass fish. Todd Driscoll, Southeast Texas, he loves to fish, competes in tournaments. He's a bass fisherman.
Yes.
Cal.
Yeah, I love the bass fish too. I got the forward-facing sonar and everything. I've caught bass doing it, so
let's go.
I'm not immune to the technology bug.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't think any of us are anymore. I think there's the same guys that are griping about forward-facing technology are the same guys that are still griping about regular sonar. we turn the grass on, get them out of here. So yeah, no, that's what I like though. Everybody involved in this program. And I know there's been discussions about spraying and different things like that that people don't agree with. The general bass fishing public takes exception to some of those things.
Sure.
Here's what makes me feel real good about it. Whether I agree or disagree with any step you guys take, I've gotten to know enough of y'all now personally that I fully understand and believe that you guys love the sport just like I do, and you're doing everything you can to do what is best for the growth rate and the well-being of the bass fishing in the state of Texas. And anybody that tries to complain about the well-being of bass fishing in Texas is either ignorant or under a rock. Because nobody can argue that Texas is the trophy bass capital of the entire universe.
Undisputed.
Yeah, it's undisputed now. Yeah. I mean, it's, California is not what it once was with less trout stockings and things over there. And we don't even talk about the rest of the problems in California. But California's not producing the big fish like it used to. Yeah. Florida is still really good, but Florida's kind of Florida. It's just really good, but it's not this. It's not 20, 30, who knows how many in a year. 13 plus pound fish are getting caught.
We're not just 13. We've had several 14s. We had 5 over 15.
16.
5 lake records. A 16. I mean, I can't. It'd be hard to find a state that had a 16 in the past decade. It's tough.
The only one that I know of is here because we had a 16 about 8 years ago in Florida.
Yep.
That's it. That's it. That's all I know. So, yeah, I mean, there's no disputing what Texas is. It is the world champ in trophy bass fishing right now. Speaking of things that some bass fishermen take exception to, amongst certain groups of bass fishermen, I've never been an anti-Sharelunker program guy. I haven't. I've always been on board with it. I always felt like no matter what, it was going to help the state. And we have had fish in the past. Some fish have died. Now, overall, your survival rate for the entirety of the program, even when it was new and you guys didn't know what you were doing, the survival rate for the entirety of the program is what?
It's over 89% now.
It's like 90%.
Yep.
It's right at 90%. So to me, it's like, well, if we lose 1 out of 10, you know, that's pretty good odds. And then we're going to stock millions of fish that are better genetics. Yeah, I'm good with that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'll take 10% of 20 fish a year for millions of offspring, right? I will. So, but it is something that some guys have taken exception to, is that, you know, some of these fish have gotten turned in. They're so giant, they're fishing for a lifetime. They get turned in, and then they die while they're here. And then guys are like, well, man, you should have just let that fish go. And like, hey, okay, that fish is really old. That's an old fish when it gets that big. It's very likely that it might have died as soon as it got released in the lake anyway. Yeah, post-release. It happens in tournaments. We have post-tournament mortality rates that are, you know, a lot higher than people realize on tournament fishing and stuff like that. So there's no way to know that fish would have survived or not. But a 90% survival rate speaks volumes to me, to you guys. And now that I've seen a transfer in person just yesterday, and I see the links guys, these guys, they match the water up. Like, you tell them, tell them about it.
Yeah, we make sure the water quality is spot on before you transfer a fish from one tank to the next.
Wherever they're holding it, you're going to match the salinity, the temperature, all that good stuff.
Yeah, oxygen saturation's good. And we stop every 45 minutes to an hour and transport, check on the fish condition, check the water quality, all that. That's all part of the process.
Well, and even just the way you guys handle it, man. You're putting on latex gloves, you're two-handing the fish. He's in one tank, into the next one, into the water really quick. We hold up for a picture for about 15 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, and then it's into the trunk tank real quick. Always being handled with two hands, always being loved on, being babied.
And that, that even goes further when we get them here. Obviously, we check on the fish's condition, water quality every 45 minutes to an hour in transport. And in addition to that, when we get them here, we actually, will anesthetize the fish, put it under briefly so we can treat any kind of abrasions or scrapes that it has.
Yeah.
If it needs to be vented, we'll vent it. And we basically go through a full body workup with the fish. We give it the best fish health care that we can provide. And one of the most advanced places to do that.
Yeah.
Multi-million-dollar facility.
I think it's probably the most advanced for this direct thing. I mean, I don't think there's anything on earth.
Yeah, that's just for largemouth bass, just for trophy bass.
That's right.
Yeah. So, we do that, and then we revive the fish, and then we treat and monitor the fish from there. It's unique, and stress accumulates slowly over time in a bass. So post-release mortality really happens not immediately after release, but over time. And so when we get a fish back here, to see the full effect of stress from being caught, being handled, being transported, those don't really come into play until several days later, about a week later. And so we're intensely monitoring that fish after we've done the full treatment of fish health care to see if there's any kind of progression one way or the other. And that's really,
Then you guys dump it into, you place it into one of these blue tanks like we showed in the lunker bunker,
right.
And then that's where the real heavy monitoring of the fish takes place.
Correct, exactly. So once they're in there, we monitor the health and condition. And again, if we need to retreat in those places, we will. We treat every abrasion, every scrape that it might have to prevent. We also raise the salinity level to increase slime coat growth in the fish. And so once the fish shows that it is taking to captivity well, then we put it on the flow-through system. We add habitat structure into the tank, and then we start to feed the fish.
So once you got the fish in there, she's taken to captivity, she's stable, everything's good, we're monitoring her. This is kind of some of the habitat similar to what y'all are using, right?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, it's typically like this, but it's the other way around. So
yeah, of course the water makes it flow up, right?
Yes, exactly. And it may look like we cheap this out, but really this is intentional. We want there to be a little opportunity that the fish would have
get any abrasion
itself again, because they're live for it. So when we feed them trout or koi, they are chasing these fish. They are inhaling them. So not only does it allow them to keep from doing that, but as an ambush predator, it gives them a place to hide. So a lot of these fish,
I gotta tell you,
they sit down in that and then they shoot out of it.
So when I look at this and you're holding it in your hands, I'm like, all this facility and we're giving them PVC pipe and garbage bag strands.
Yeah.
But in the water, and you guys can see some shots of it in the water. In the water, that thing's like awesome looking. Like it's like a perfect little house. It's great.
It looks
brilliant.
just like emergent vegetation.
It is brilliant. It's great. It's perfect for the bass. And yeah, and they can eat that thing. And if they happen to get some of the garbage bag in there, the garbage bag's gonna pull out. They're not gonna digest it.
And, the other thing is, it allows us to control the environment even more. It has to be artificial. So we can't put natural vegetation in there,
right?
Because it throws too many variables into the equation.
Of course.
So, but yeah, I mean that.
So the fish care here, man. And listen, this is my statement on it because again, I'm not as deep of a thinker as some other people are. But for me, I'm such a kind of guy, and it's like, hey, here's what I know. After watching the transfer happen in person yesterday and watching the links that y'all go to, and I've been here a few times now, and seeing the way y'all take care of them, the way y'all baby them, like, in my opinion, when a fish does die under Sharelunker's care, there's no way it's y'all's fault. Like, I've seen the way y'all do things. It's not something that y'all did that caused the death. I don't believe that that's ever going to be the case ever.
Yeah.
Because you guys are going to every link known to possible to man.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in better shape with y'all than they are in nature.
Yeah. I mean, we try to do our best. You know, again, it's fishing's in our blood, bass fishing's in our blood, especially. So we hate to see that happen.
Y'all love it.
You know, I mean, this is like the ER for bass. When they come in, like I said, we do everything we can in our power. We give them antibiotics when needed, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's definitely not something that we like to see at all, and it definitely is something that really hurts when one fish does pass away. But you know, over the years, we've definitely been able to learn and adapt, and you know, not only as anglers and handling techniques and holding times and holding facilities. You know, we've been able to, you know, get better at everything that we do as anglers and as biologists as we, you know, learn more about these fish's size. Every fish is different. Every fish that comes in, you know, they're obviously towards the end of the lifespan, but everyone handles the stress related to being caught, being handled, being transported differently than another one. Some of them, you know, they're too far gone before they even get here. And so
we have one.
We bring them here.
Right? One, just in case anybody's wondering, because I saw a post on the forum that was talking about fish dying. I'm like, there's been one.
Yeah, 1 out of 23.
1 out of 20. 1 out of 23 fish. That's like 4%, 3.5%. I don't know, it's something like that. I ain't no math major, fishing guide, but like I can do that math.
Yeah.
We're talking about 96, 97% survival rate on 23 old fish.
Yeah. They're on average 10 to 12 years old to get to 13 pounds. Some of these fish might be older than that. They can be younger, but on average in a public waterway, that's the age. So.
They can be younger, but on average, that's the age. So what you're telling me is my whole theory about 14, 15, and 16 ain't really true. And we're about to have a whole bunch more Sharelunkers in the next couple years.
It's possible, yeah.
That's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it and run with that, Willie, because I like that. That sounds great to me.
And I definitely want it to be known that one is too many for our standards. We want 100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
But you told me that fish was just super stressed. Y'all never could get her right.
Yeah, she never responded well. And at that point, you know, when a fish comes in, when she's here until she gets better or not. Right? Like, we're not going to take a fish that's sick and release it into the wild. We're going to do everything we can. We're going to give it antibiotics as needed. We're going to treat any kind of scrapes. And we're going to do a full workup of that fish from the tip of its mouth to the tip of its tail. And then from there, you know, we're going to do the best we can, give it the best fish health care we can. And, you know, and it's up to the fish at that point, you know, if it's going to respond or not. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't.
So there was the one this year. Man, that's a great job on you guys, especially considering, I mean, this is more fish than y'all have had to deal with in a while right here. You guys got a full bunker now.
Yeah, it's stretching the limits of our longer bunker, and you know, we've had conversations about how can we grow it. You know, as we recreate our brood stock, we need pure Florida spawners every year in order to add to those year classes, because as they age, we'll have to cycle the year class out. We'll take those brooders, put them back into the lakes of Texas as a shot in the arm, and then replace them with another one. So it's going to be something, even though we recreate these brooders, we're going to have to kill monkeys every year. Yeah, and the only way that we do that is through that, you know, partnership between anglers and agencies.
Right. There's a few things. There's a few things that this program has to have. One, it's got to have Toyota as a key because they funded so much of this, right? So the sponsor partner from Toyota, big thank you to Toyota. If you're a bass fisherman and you don't drive a Tundra, then you don't get to catch 13 pounders from Texas. No, Toyota, big thanks to Toyota. We can't do this without them. Yeah. We can't do this without you guys as staff and the dedication and the love and the hard work that y'all put in. We couldn't do it without that. And the third thing is we can't do it without you guys.
Exactly.
All of you guys that are out there that are lucky enough to catch these fish, the ones over 13 for donations during season, great. Even outside of that, the information that we talked about earlier, using the app, Anytime you catch one over 8 pounds, get that Sharelunker app downloaded, turn that information into these guys, and that's just gonna. We have to have all 3 of those for the program to work.
Exactly, and that's what a state agency doesn't have a program like this without the support of those key pieces.
That's right.
And in addition to that, something I wanted to talk about as far as the spawning goes. There's a little heartburn on taking the fish out of the lake and then not letting it spawn naturally in the wild.
That's right.
Well, in a controlled environment like this, these fish's offspring, not only do they have a chance of hatching out of an egg stage and into a fry stage and even grow to a fingerling stage, but they have that much more opportunity to reach that size here. In the wild, the second they're laid, they're at a disadvantage compared to being in this environment.
Turtle, brim, whatever.
Bluegill, bugs, birds, you name it.
They're all trying to kill. Everything's trying to kill them.
Exactly, they're at a super disadvantage.
Everything's trying to kill them until they get to be about 2 pounds, and they try to kill everything else.
Exactly. So when you put them in a controlled environment like this,
absolutely.
You
Much
maximize,
higher recruitment, right? Much higher.
You maximize the recruitment and the survivability of those specific offspring, right?
Yes.
Like when we spawn in the wild, you may have, let's say, hypothetically 4 or 5 that survive to adulthood. Maybe only one of those is going to reach.
Right.
And here, if you maximize that to 300 to 400, then you have that many more that reach that perfect size.
And that's legitimate. I don't know what the numbers are. You guys, you and Jay, guys like y'all would know much better than me. Yeah, the amount of fry that get, mortality in wild is huge. Because let's say if you got a 13 pounder, she has 50,000 eggs. I don't know. Is that that's a real number, right?
About up to 10,000 eggs per pound of body weight.
Oh.
Realistically, it's somewhere between 4,000 and 6,000.
So that's not too bad of a guess that I just had there.
A 13 could lay up to 100,000 eggs.
Okay, so let's say a 13 pounder drops 100,000 eggs in the wild.
Yeah.
The odds are, how many of those fish are going to reach full maturity out of that 100,000?
Yeah, it's hard to put a number on because there's so many variables that are out of control.
But
you got predation, you got weather patterns, you got anglers.
But you know what it's not going to be? It's not going to be as many in a tank that has no predators.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or a water temperature that doesn't fluctuate.
Yeah.
We keep it consistent. We wait till that temperature is right. When they're laid, they hatch quickly.
Right.
They reach fry stage quickly, and then they reach maximum growth.
Speaking of growth, if you got here's another point to make about the care you guys take of these fish here. So there is a fish in here that was donated by the angler to the program
last year.
Not as a borrowed fish, but as a permanent fish from OHIV. This fish was caught out of OHIV in 2020, and it weighed a little over 13 pounds. A little over 13 pounds when it arrived in the program.
Yeah.
It's still in the tank right now. She's actually really good friends. Bro, she literally comes to the window when I wiggle my fingers.
Yeah.
Like every time I do this at the window, you saw it. You witnessed it. Twice now.
Yep.
Twice now. So anyway, there's a fish in there from OHIV, over 13 pounds, and she's now, how big?
1710.
In 1 year, folks.
That was
4 pounds.
3 weeks ago when we transferred her, she weighed 1710.
You moved her from one tank to the next, and y'all weighed her, and she was 17.
Correct.
4 pounds in 1 year. Yeah. And then y'all had another one that grew 3 pounds in a year.
Yeah, we have another one that we held over that grew 3.5 pounds. So it's over 16, it's almost 17 as well. So it's incredible.
Yeah, I think that the fry and the offspring are probably a little bit easier lives if they stay here for a little while before they go to the wild.
Just a little while.
We're just going to borrow them, take care of them, love on them. Yeah. Then we'll turn them loose and let them become the vicious killers that they are.
That's right. That's right. And again, Sharelunker's been around for so long, and when we stock those offspring, you're 10 to 12 years to get to that size.
Yeah.
It's incredible since we've got that advanced genetic technology. We've been stocking so many offspring. We're getting offspring back. We're getting direct offspring from Sharelunker that have been spawned in this hatchery.
I remember the Marine Creek fish a couple years ago. It was a
two of them.
Direct descendant of a Lake Conroe Sharelunker?
Yep, 2006. It was spawned in 2006. The offspring were taken from there, selectively stocked in the Marine Creek, and now we've got a new lake record twice off of Sharelunker offspring, which were siblings, so both sisters. From that same spot.
I didn't even know this. There was 2 new lake records at Marine Creek. They were both offspring from the same Sharelunker from Lake Conroe.
Rewind like 3 or 4 years ago, the first 13 pounder that was produced out of Marine Creek,
same deal,
was the direct offspring from the Conroe fish. 2 years later, a 14.5 was caught, new lake record, sister to that fish, direct offspring from that one. Yeah. It gets pretty crazy.
So the program works. Like obviously anybody that wants to say the program works, not only does the program work, it's home run, like to the moon. I mean, you guys have killed it. There's 2 fish of a lifetime, two individuals, 2 gentlemen that caught 2 fish of a lifetime, 2 new lake records.
Yeah.
the fish doesn't exist without the program.
Exactly. Yeah, those fish wouldn't have been there without that program. So it's incredible.
It is incredible. As well as the Nacogdoches fish, as well as so many others.
Yeah.
They don't get there without the program. So, man, awesome job to you guys. Speaking for all the bass fishermen out there, thank y'all.
Well, thank you
so much for what y'all do, man. This is it's really easy to be proud to be a bass fisherman from Texas.
Yeah.
A, because we're just out fishing the entire world as a team, if you count it that way, and B, because of the hard work and the efforts and the deep thinking and like just the effort that has gone in, the mental and physical effort that has gone into this program.
Late night.
Big point of pride for Texas bass fishermen.
Yeah, we really appreciate that, and really, I mean, from the bottom of our hearts, we can't say thank you enough because we have some of the best anglers in the country. I mean,
that's right.
Texas is proud.
That's right.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
That's right.
Our bass are bigger. You know, we have some of the best anglers in the country, in this state, and again, the program success is based off of support and that partnership with you guys. So I can't thank you enough.
Absolutely, Kyle. Thank you too, buddy. Hey, man. Most importantly, hey, like Kyle said, we got great anglers. That's y'all.
That's right.
Thank y'all. We appreciate you taking time. I know it's a long video, but it was very interesting stuff to me, and I wanted to get down here and kind of show you guys the full facility this time, because last time we were here, it was winter. There wasn't any turned in yet, and now the fruit stock is up, so I'm really glad that we got to share that with you guys today. I sure hope you enjoyed it. Either way, I do appreciate you taking the time to watch it. Hey, go get the Sharelunker out.
That's right.
And then go catch some big bass, and then tell this man about how you caught them or how big they were or whatever. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time right here on your Lakefront Guys. Now, Kyle, you just told me a really cool story, because we're talking about the genetics for using the Sharelunker program outside of the legacy donation plan. Even if you don't catch one over 13, catch one outside of the donation window. Anything 8+, it's important to get that info. We talked about that. Give me an example why. You just told me a really good example why.
Yeah, so we've had 2 or 3 samples this year that anglers have submitted from fish less than 13 pounds that are offspring or descendants, like a third generation, if you will, a grandchild from a Sharelunker. One of them from Nacogdoches. This hasn't been publicized yet, so you're the first one to hear about it. But right here.
You're Lakefront Guy exclusive. Let's go.
So a 12.5 from Nacogdoches was actually a direct descendant from another offspring.
So
12,
12 and change from Nacogdoches was a direct descendant from one of the Sharelunkers.
Correct, and she was about 11 years old. So we backed it up to when she was spawned here, and then born, if you will.
Know exactly how old she was, exactly what fish she came from.
Yep.
Man, that is some super cool guys. I'm telling you, this program is the deal. And you need to participate. I need to participate. I was just telling you, we had a 9.5 pound this last week, and I totally forgot to do all that stuff. Like, I've got to get better. We all need to raise awareness about Sharelunker program, and that every fish over 8 pounds, we need to collect the scale sample. What is it, a scale sample?
Yep, just a scale.
Just take one scale from the fish. They'll give you an envelope, put it in.
Yep, send it to the genetics lab with their catch ID number after you submit the entry online, and then we'll put it into the specific DNA analysis.
If you ever need help walking through the app, you can download the app. It walks you through everything on the app, but if you ever need help, they have a Sharelunker hotline that you can call. It's usually going to be this guy answering,
That's right.
and he can tell you how to do all that stuff. So definitely, please participate in the program. Every time you catch one over 8 pounds, weigh it on scale, get a picture of that, take a scale sample, and contact them through the app, and let's get this thing going, man.
For sure.
Cool stuff.
Yep.
Very cool stuff.